Today's movie, today's review, is going to be of Ben-Hur. This is an epic film with epic Oscar wins. Winner of 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture of 1959. It stars Charlton "Damn Dirty Ape" Heston, and directed by William Wyler. Both of them won in their categories. Heston won Best Actor, Wyler won Best Director. The film won Best Picture, and all those other awards. And of course, I would say it's still an acclaimed and well-loved movie to this day. But I'll tell you right now, this probably isn't going to be that straightforward of a review. More like, say, a first impressions kind of video, because up until 2 weeks ago, I'd never seen this movie, not once. I can't believe it had flown by my radar all these years, but. I don't know, what can I tell you? And that's kind of what I like about this time of year. I like to watch Academy Award winning and nominated movies and kind of get to know the ones that I love a little bit better, watch them again, see if they hold up, all that stuff, but then seek out ones that I haven't seen. And I couldn't believe I hadn't seen this, so I decided to give this a watch. So there are aspects to this that I found highly impressive, and other aspects that I found quite surprising as well. Kind of going, oh, okay. For one thing, I did not know, I had no idea that this was a biblical epic. Like there was basically a Bible movie, though I guess you'd consider it biblical fiction, if that's a way. Like, they create the story. Ben-Hur's story kind of coincides with the story of Jesus Christ. So at the beginning of the movie, they show, the nativity, the three wise men. They see the star up in the sky, and they see the manger, and baby Jesus gets born, and that stuff. And that's how it opens, kind of setting that up. And what's kind of cool is, that's like, I guess, a cold open, before cold openings were kind of cool in movies. Then boom, credits, and the credits are over Birth of Man. Birth of Man, as the titles go. So I mean, that suggests already quite a bit. One, given the nature of the story, how God intervenes with man and in all those ways, and it does so in this story. But also how a great work of art like that can be inspired through religion. And so if, you can paint the Sistine Chapel, if you can paint that glorious, eternal work of art, then why can't you do so in the form of a movie, in form of a feature film, an epic film that's like 4 hours long, I think. So, I mean, quite boastful on, I guess, William Wyler's part, but, it stood the test of time. It's still regarded highly to this day. So I guess that suggests a little bit about the movie. But the movie, Judah Ben-Hur, he's Jewish, he's a prince or king or whatever. Paying attention to the movie well. And he is betrayed by his old friend, who's a Roman, Sextus, played by Jack Hawkins. So there's a betrayal there between two old comrades, and Ben-Hur, he is sold into slavery. Kind of a rip-off of Gladiator, but just kind of go with it. And so, there's these big scenes. He's on the boat, and that's kind of classic. You've like seen that reference elsewhere, like the music of it, banging the drums, like boom, 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 row faster, boom, boom, boom. All that stuff. So that's all really good. And, what stands out about this movie is that there really are really meticulous and beautiful shots from this movie, from the set decoration, from the costume design. This is every sense of an epic movie. Again, you got to keep in mind, this is 1959. You can't create like a CGI crowd. You got to get the whole crowd there. So that's something, that took a lot to make this movie, so I commend it for that. And the movie looks great, and you're seeing it on Blu-ray. I mean, that's just utterly fantastic. It looks great. Even if, you see I don't know, the Roman costumes, they're always kind of silly. I guess they're as historically accurate as possible, but they always kind of look, whenever I see like a movie with the Roman soldiers, they're like, their helmets, their headgear, it always looks like the brushes that you'd brush your car with, brush the snow off. I don't know, I just want to like take a helmet and get the snow off the car. But anyway, And also, kind of a thing, I wouldn't say that this movie it likely didn't start this trend, but it probably kind of contributed to it. Is that in these movies, these Bible movies, we always see the Romans as British with British accents, and the Jews with American accents. Like you'd see that in like everything. You know, I don't know if it originated in this movie. I don't think so. It probably goes back a lot further than that. But it really was a trend that kind of stayed around for a while, even as recently as the '80s. You know, with Last Temptation of Christ. You know, Willem Dafoe, the great Willem Dafoe, playing Jesus, and the Romans were British. David Bowie was Pontius Pilate in that movie. Pontius Pilate is in this movie too, and he's British. Anyway, this movie, it has a lot of scope to it. It has these breathtaking set pieces, such as the chariot race, which of course is one of the standout sections of the movie, probably the best known portion of the movie. Which still, it holds up tremendously well. I was kind of like, all right, it's kind of exciting, seeing that race and how important it is to the plot. Sort of a ripoff of Star Wars Episode 1, but still really good. And again, because there's no special effects there, well, at least, like CGI, whatever, you feel the danger there. You feel the realism. Again, I've said this a million times, but with CGI today, I do feel like there's kind of like a disconnect. Seeing that it's like really on camera, really these special effects in this exciting, this thrilling chariot race, that it takes your breath away. It really does. And it has the little blades on the wheels, and it's like tearing through the wood like it's nothing. It's really cool. So even if, like, let's say, again, this is a long movie, maybe you don't want to sit through it, just look up that chariot race scene. Just check it out on YouTube or something. It's well worth it. So yeah, really impressed with the movie, and Heston's performance, such a great performance, and I haven't seen every 1959 movie ever made, but I'm glad he won the Academy Award for it. That's pretty cool, and. Just when you think about it, this is late 1950s. This is, let's say, 15 years after World War II. To see this actor, to see a Jewish character playing this action adventure hero, this badass, like, make no mistake, Ben-Hur, he's a fucking badass. Taking that from history with, it's fictional liberties, of course. You could imagine, let's say a young Jewish kid, 5-year-old Jewish kid, sitting in the theater, watching that, being inspired by that, and I think that's great. I think that's absolutely great. So Heston, a wonderful actor and an iconic actor. Ten Commandments also. Meanwhile, I've never seen Ben-Hur, but I've seen Ten Commandments like 8,000 times because it plays every year around Easter, but whatever. So yeah, and though it is a biblical movie, I wouldn't say that the religious aspects to it are too overbearing. Like I wouldn't say you'd have to be, completely familiar with, New Testament to get an idea of how Jesus' story intertwines with Ben-Hur's. Does so in a way where you can kind of understand, okay, so there's this man here, this very human man, this very mortal and in some ways weak man who has all of the human weaknesses and fears and doubts and insecurities, like with, I don't know, Anakin Skywalker kind of rips off that, where he has that vulnerability in his mother, and Ben-Hur also is his sister, where that kind of prevents him, that kind of clouds his mind a little bit, because they do become lepers in this movie, and that really affects him. And kind of his whole journey was to get back to them, so that really puts a heavy weight on him. But meanwhile, you have Jesus Christ, who's a son of God. And what's actually kind of interesting too, like they don't show his face. Like you see some portions of the movie where it's like back of his head, and like you see like the long Jesus hair. And they're even in one part, they're like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like they blur it out or they just have like like a plant covering his face or something like that. Like it's a long shot, a very long shot, and you don't see his face. So I thought that was kind of an interesting decision to not show Jesus, at least not in full. Yeah. Anyway, so their stories coincide, and because of Jesus, Ben-Hur is kind of able to I don't know, find his path in life, kind of dispel the weaknesses that he does have, and kind of the ultimate final resolution to the movie is that Jesus, he's crucified, and he's bleeding, the blood comes down the cross, and it rains, and it's his blood, his godly blood, that cures the leprosy in Judah's mother and sister. So it's his blood that cures them. Kind of a rip-off of Star Trek Into Darkness, but still really well done. Music is great in this movie. Cinematography is great in this movie. I think it's an odd ratio. It's I don't know what it is. It's not 16:9. It's or not 2.81 whatever. It seems like it's a little bit wider than wide. Anyway, I can't find the specs here, but I don't know. Just to see the scope of that, I think the huge crowd scenes, in the huge scenes of this movie, I think it kind of opens it up and makes it all the more epic. So, I don't know. Again, this is kind of a first impressions review. I can't go too in depth. I probably sound pretty ignorant of everything. But anyway, I enjoyed it. 4 hours. You can kind of feel it. I mean, definitely for today's audiences, I would admit that, today's audiences, myself included, we can get a little impatient, things like that. But not to take away from everything that we see in this movie, because it does have really standout scenes and excellent thrilling scenes, like the chariot race and like the attack on the ship. So it's really well done, I would say. So I mean, if you're like me, if you haven't seen this movie, it's definitely worth checking out. Charlton Heston, he's a badass, and this is an epic film. It's definitely worth watching at least once. So those are my impressions on Ben-Hur. As always, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. What do you think of Ben-Hur? Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you later.